Hi, this is Jeff Cohn from SI Restoration. And as you can tell by the title, we're going to talk about sewage cleanup and sewage backup cleanup from either your basement or your first floor. So the question you need to be asking is, who the heck am I and why do I have the ability to tell you how to do it correctly? So, my name is Jeff Cohn from SI Restoration. I've owned with my brother Michael a restoration company, including sewage damage cleanup, regular water damage cleanup, fire damage, and mold remediation cleanup and restoration. And so, what happens is that after 35 years and being IICRC trained and certified and following the IICRC S500 guidelines, we're pretty darn confident that we know what we're talking about. But I'm going to tell you, and you should definitely double check everything, as I would say for anything that you learn. But I just follow the IICRC S500 guidelines, which I'm going to get into in a little bit. So you have picked up this video because, or searched and found the video because you have a sewage backup, I'm assuming. You woke up in the morning from probably a lot of rain the night before, could be a storm, and poof, you decided to get up and look for water damage. You know, maybe your roof leaks, maybe water from the foundation, and you walk around the house and you go, "But we missed we dodged the bullet. We dodged the bullet." But you smell something a little funky down in the basement. So you head down the steps, and basically as you get down there, you see probably anywhere from half the room to a full room of sewage. I mean, sometimes it could be a sewage backup in just the bathroom, and it happens, just the bathroom, and you get lucky with that. When I say lucky, you don't have the whole basement. That's what I'm saying. But there are times where it can be small or large, so, which of course depends on how much things cost to clean up. But what we're going to talk about is two things: is one is how to clean it up correctly. Number two, we want to talk about cost, how you're going to be able to, if you're not going to do this yourself, how you're going to be able to pay for this. Okay. And let's see, what did I do here? I have the last one, how to clean it if it pays for it. Well, I did talk about everything. Okay, good. Cost, how to clean it up, and how you're going to get this paid. So if you decide not to do it, but let's go with the fact that I'm going to do a scenario where I'm going to assume that you're going to do it yourself. And after I finish, if you decide, hey, this isn't for me, then I'll let you know where you can find people to clean this up correctly. So, pardon me. So basically, you go in there and you have gone into the basement, and before you get to the last step, you see this mess. And I say, hold it, stop. Okay. Don't go any further. The first thing you have to worry about is safety. Now, I remember I taught a class for insurance agents for their certification, their continuing education. And I remember a insurance agent said, yeah, but it's most likely our poop and our pee in there. And I know my kids, and I know my wife, and I know me, and I know that we had, we're pretty clean, clean as in, good people, and we didn't do anything stupid and all that. I then explained the concept of sewage theory, which means that when the sewage and the poop and everything that leaves from your toilet or your sink or whatever goes through your pipes, it then goes to your county or your state municipality or city pipes. And now it's mixed with everybody. And so what I tell people is you could look at your neighbor and think, oh, wow, that's a great neighbor and he wouldn't do anything wrong, and blah, 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 blah. Finds out that the neighbor family have gone to Africa and Asia trip and they have picked up a disease. They don't know about it yet, but they have picked up a disease. They're not feeling well, but they're not telling you that. Now that disease has some serious complications and needs some serious shots. Well, guess what? It's in your basement now. Also, you could have a neighbor with AIDS. You could have different situations. So the bottom line is that your poop down in the basement is now everybody's poop down in the basement. So that's number one. So that with that knowledge, there's a couple things that I need to do. Safety is number one. So if you're going to do this yourself, remember that the first thing you want to do is get rubber puncture resistant boots. You can go to Home Depot, you can go to I'm not sure who else sells them, Ace Hardware, someplace where they have the puncture resistant boots. And remember, I said puncture resistant, not puncture proof. So remember that, you can't just go in there and jump on a nail. So now there's also puncture resistant gloves, and you want to make sure they go up to the elbow. Okay, not here, but up to the elbow. Now, what happens is that you've got your puncture resistant gloves, your puncture resistant boots, sorry. You're also, and they do sell this at Home Depot, and I don't work for Home Depot, I'm just using them as an example. They have what's called Tyvek suits, Tyvek suits. And what happens is they're throwaway plastic suits. They're designed, you'll see that when you put one on, you look like one of those biohazard people going in for some mysterious disease that you see in movies. And that's what they are. Okay. The other thing is you want to have is a full, you can put what's called a half face mask. Okay. Or you can put a full face. Um, Up to you. But then on the sides, you'll see a place where you can put filters. You want to make sure that you read the filters and that they filter out any type of weird disease or bacteria. Okay, now of course it's never going to be 100%, but you're up to the into the late 90% of getting clear. So you're not breathing this in. So now you go down and you look like, somebody from a movie, okay, who's either going to visit a planet or something. And you go down there, and the first thing you want to do is take a look around and make sure that there are no wires. Now, what wires? Okay, so what happens is is that we used 35 years ago when I started out, the most of the time when you dealt with wires, you had TV wires and you had those the ironing. You had an ironing board, the wire goes down, and plugs it in. And you say, well, hold it, they're turned off. Yeah, but there's still electricity flowing through there, even a little bit. So all of a sudden, if there's frays on that wire, okay, again, this is 35 years ago. It's still today, possibly. But when you have those wires, if a rodent or a mouse could have gotten in and shoot it, and they do that, okay. And what happens is now you have that sewage, that water, and now you have you. All of a sudden, boom, you could get electrocuted. Now with the rubber boots and the rubber gloves, that actually prevents it. It doesn't help be a conductivity apparatus. So you're safe with that. Just remember, don't take anything off when you're down there. Now, you have gone in there, you have done your safety thing. The next thing is you need to get rid of the sewage. Now, here's your problem. You go in and you went over to Home Depot as you got the gloves and the boots and the Tyvek suit, and you find yourself a wet dry vac. Now, remember, if you own a wet dry vac, you don't want to use that one because I don't care how many times you try to clean it, it'll never be 100% clean. And down the road, if you use that and then you use it again after the sewage damage for another situation, somebody could pick up a germ or a disease. So you want to buy a brand new one that you're going to throw away after this. Is that I'm hoping that you'll never have a sewage backup again, but you want to have a fresh one that's only used for that. The problem is that you'll notice as you're trying to suck that up, it's going to take a lot of sucking up and a lot of extracting and a lot of dumping. Question is, where do you dump it? Well, let's say you have one of those houses, and again, I'm from Baltimore, Washington, D.C., Maryland area, and most of us have basements. There may be people who have basements where there's not an outside door going out, and that you have to go upstairs. But if you do have an outside door going out, and you take it outside and you dump it on the grass, that's illegal. Believe it or not, that you are illegally dumping. a contagious a product, and you may say, well, big deal, the ground's going to absorb it. Well, the EPA would disagree with you because it will eventually go down through the ground into people's drinking water, and you could have an issue. Okay. What somebody has to do is watch you do it and then get sick and then say, well, that must be the reason why. So, word to the wise, don't dump it outside. Don't dump it into a sewer drain because that's not what it's used there for. Again, it's against the law and it is an unhealthy situation. So what do you do? Well, depending on the situation, the first thing I would do is call your plumber and get your plumber out there to unclog your line or clear it or something, whatever the reason it happened. And that's where you dump it is into either to your slop sink or into your toilet. Now there will be times when your plumber will say, look, we're not going down there. You need to get it cleaned up, okay, by a professional. So at that point, you have two options. You hire a professional and they should have a collection device to be able to at least collect enough of it and then take it somewhere to have it dumped legally and get the plumber in there. I have seen basements with a foot. I've seen commercial buildings with a foot, 2 feet, okay, of sewage backup and a big basement. And so what we do is we bring it's the folks that go in and clean who extract sewage from your if you have a septic system that's not municipality ran, and they come into to the septic system and help pump out the sewage when it's too much. They're also called honey dippers. Okay. That's just a nickname. So we always called them honey dippers. So the honey dippers are called in and they just stick their hose down there and all they do is suck as much as they can and then they're out. They don't go in to help you clean it up. It's not going to happen. People have tried. So at that point, you know how to get it removed. So let's say you go ahead and let's say you suck everything up, you extract as much as you can, sewage is the sewage as much as you can, and now it's just in the rugs, it's in the floor. I'll tell you the possibilities. Besides just having concrete, people have carpet pad. There is what's called LVT or luxury vinyl tile, which is basically the stuff that looks, I always say the stuff that looks like wood, but it's not. You know what I'm talking about. And you buy it in the store. Everyone has it in their kitchens and in their house, and it looks somewhat like wood, but it's vinyl. Okay. Well, the problem under that vinyl floor, because people say, well, it's waterproof. Okay. It's waterproof as in the vinyl tile itself. Okay. And again, proof doesn't mean 100%. It just means it's helping out, resistant as much as possible. But you also have a little slight padding underneath this. It's when it's installed. The sewage gets under that and gets into that padding. That padding is going to have to be removed. We're going to go into why in a little bit. So you've gone in there and now you say, okay, well, maybe I can get the carpet cleaned. Um, an unknown insurance company, we call them carriers, but it's the people who you see advertised on TV who sell homeowners insurance. One of them had said, I remember I was in a situation where it was a daycare and they said, just go in. This is 20 some years ago. He said, go in and disinfect and clean the carpet. And I said, it's against the IICRC guideline policy. At those days, the IICRC wasn't as strong as it is now, as in people taking it as serious. Now the IICRC is the word. At the S500 guidelines is the word. So basically, what happens is the sorry, I just lost my train of thought there for a second. So what happens is that I had explained to him. I said, look, I go, because we were talking. This is the insurance adjuster and I were on the phone talking, and they said, well, if you have 180 degrees in your truck, in your carpet cleaning machine, it should kill everything. I said, well, let's think about it. It starts at 180 degrees from your truck. This is the guys who have the actual trucks. It's really hot water. By the time it gets down to the house, into the hose and into the apparatus that cleans your carpet, it's called a wand. You're probably down to about 90, 45 degrees to 90 degrees in heat, and therefore it's not going to do anything. The other problem is that your sewage is underneath the carpet, and it's inside what's called the primary and secondary backing. So when you see all the fluff, what we call the fluffy stuff on top, and then you have that hard surface on the back. Okay, it's actually two layers of material because the fiber goes in between those two. All that gets in there. It's impossible to guarantee that you're going to be able to get that disinfected and clean. Okay, that's up to you whether you want to give it a shot or not. Any professional in the right mind is not going to do that for health reasons. So the carpet's got to be ripped out. So you go out and you rip the carpet out. Okay, and you make sure that it's in a plastic, heavy duty, commercial grade trash bags. Okay, again, Home Depot sells them. Trying to think of some of the other their competitor. I can't think off the top of my head. So what happens is that the you've gone in there and you have uh, collected all the carpet out of there, and then you have the vinyl tile. And of course, someone in the house goes, "Oh, I love that vinyl tile. Can't we just save it?" No, because I said before, it's under there, so you have to get rid of it. Anything that gets absorbed or touched by sewage or contaminated water must be removed. We don't know how much it's absorbed. We don't know anything of the extent. And unless you have a magic wand and someone says to you, don't worry, I think we can save this, I wouldn't take the chance. Okay. Our company, SI Restoration, and myself would never take the liability and guarantee somebody that's really clean. Okay. Hydroscopic means absorbent. So carpet is absorbent. The floor tile, although not the luxury vinyl tile, although not absorb planks as luxury vinyl planks as well, are not absorbent. Underneath is absorbent, and also even if there wasn't any padding underneath, it's gotten under there. So you've got to pull that, yank that out, and throw it away. Now you're left with a concrete floor, and you go in and you again extract as much as possible. And then I'm going to say to you, what about the walls? You're going to look at me and say, I'm looking at the walls, and the walls look fine. Okay. I'm telling you that if the sewage touches the wall, okay, it absorbs into the wall. And you may say, yeah, but I don't see it. You're not going to. The paint, the couple of layers of paint, the coats, excuse me, of coats of paint that you have on that wall are hiding what you see. So what happens is, again, you can go to any of your favorite hardware stores, and they should have what's called a moisture check or a moisture something to check for moisture. And I would go ahead and use that. Remember, after you're done, when you're done the whole project, throw it away. Do not reuse it. And you'll notice that wasn't kidding around, that it actually, you'll find the moisture level. And that means sewage got in there. That means you got to cut it out. Okay. So you cut it out until you don't see anymore, any stain. Okay. As you're cutting it out, you'll notice on the sides, there'll be more and more and more and more. You're going to have to cut another 2 feet. Okay. This is according to the IICRC S500 guidelines. And the reason is you never know anything has absorbed after that that's inside the drywall that you can't see. So it's another additional 2 feet above and on the sides of the areas that you cut. Now you're left with the concrete floor and the wood studs or metal studs. Now what do you do? Again, you want to, excuse me, it's there. You're going to want to extract and as much as possible. And then you're going to start the disinfection process. Now, the disinfection process is you must use a hospital grade disinfectant. You can either get that again at your favorite hardware store, or if they're open, you can go to a janitorial supply house and ask them if they have hospital grade disinfectant chemical. They 99.9% should have that in their supply. Okay, you must be hospital grade because that's going to kill most of the stuff. Okay. And what you want to do is get a whole bunch of it and you want to flood the floor. I mean, reflood it. And you want to be at least a half an inch, maybe an inch. And you want to get in there and just really soak it down before you do anything else. And then you want to let it sit for about 15 to 20 minutes. And the reason is that when you buy a product, a cleaning product, or anything like the disinfectant, these products are not designed to be immediately effective. Now, they may start to be immediately effective, but to give it its full function, they have to sit. So now you've gone in and you've done that for 15 or 20 minutes, you've waited, and now you go ahead and extract it again. Now you can walk around a little bit more securely, but again, you want to keep your safety stuff on. Now you have to remember that poop and particles will find themselves in crevices, either cracks in the concrete, in corners, and areas like that. You have to get it out, but you can't get it out with a brush. And it's hard sometimes to know because it's very small. So what's recommended is to bring a very light power washer. You can rent them or you can buy it. And you basically power wash the floor. And the idea is that you're power washing the floor, you're pressure these pressure water into these crevices and getting as much out as possible. And you want to do that everywhere. You want to do that underneath the floor. I'm sorry, you want to do that on the floor. You want to go in underneath the wall where you cut. You want to go into the studs areas. You don't want to cut the studs out. I'll explain that in a minute. You want to really power wash all those areas and just get them really clean. Then, after you extracted it, yes, you flood the floor again. Matter of the hospital disinfectant everywhere and let it sit for 20 minutes. After that's done, you want to go ahead and spray areas around that maybe it was above the 2 inches that you flooded, and take a sprayer that you can rent and go ahead, not rent them, so you can buy, they're cheap, and spray with a hospital disinfectant and really just spray as much. You can never do too much. Okay. Remember when you're doing chemicals that when you're doing that, you have to remember that for breathing issues. So if you have a respiratory issue, don't do it. Don't be doing this. Have somebody else do it. And you definitely want to take breaks. Okay. Remember when you take breaks and you go upstairs, you are tracking those viruses and diseases and bacteria with you. So you want to make sure you stop at the top of the steps and take or somewhere and take off those boots and walk around, not through the house. Okay. Then go back. Okay. Remember, this is not a race. Okay. So take your time. Now, once everything has been disinfected, clean, removed, okay, you got another problem. Sorry. You got moisture. You got a lot of moisture. Okay. And some people will say, well, don't worry, open up the windows. Okay. It's hot outside, or it's whatever. It's a nice day. It'll blow the breeze in. Well, I'll tell you the problem. First of all, unless you know the humidity is lower outside and can guarantee that it's going to do that for the next day or two, that's a bad idea because you're bringing in more moisture. Okay, and the second problem is when you have the window, and this is why I tell people when they say, "Oh, I open the windows, close them." The reason is because you will bring in bacteria and mold spores from outside, and that can bring them in. You'll make it worse. Okay, so you want to have your air conditioning system on at this point. Okay, and you want to let it run. And basically, you also want to bring in what's called commercial dehumidifiers, which you can rent at Home Depot and Lowe's. Couldn't think of the sorry, Lowe's Corporation. So and Ace's handy the Ace's hardware store and other hardware stores could possibly have them, and rental places. There is a difference between people will say to me, well, don't worry, I have a dehumidifier I got from Walmart. I got it from wherever you got it from. I remember every time I say that, it reminds me 35 years ago when I used to say Sears, because everybody got everything from Sears. So those dehumidifiers are designed for comfort level in a residential home. They're not there for drying materials or preventing mold growth. I don't care what it says. I've done the tests. I've gone to laboratories where they manufacturers show the difference. Okay, I've seen it. It has to be a commercial rated dehumidifier. You also want to have air fans. And by the way, unless you've completely gone through the disinfection process that I talked about, do not bring in air fans yet because air fans will blow around bacteria and other viruses around the house. So, and get into the air conditioning system. So you want to make sure that it is completely disinfected. Now, what happens is at that point is you're going to let the equipment run for probably, I'm going to say 3 days. Okay, you don't have the equipment to really test it, but 3 days is a good day. This is going to get rid of all the moisture, which is going to prevent mold growth. Because the last thing you want to do is have all this, you did a great job disinfecting, cleaning it up, and then putting the drywall back and flooring, and all of a sudden have mold within a month or two. So it's important to do that. So that's, I know I have missed some steps according to the IICRC and its explanation, but I didn't want to get this too deep into this. So the question then you're asking is, well, Jeff, what do I do if I don't want to do this myself? Okay, and there are plenty of people who don't. Well, hopefully, if you're in the well, hopefully, if you're in the Baltimore, Maryland, Baltimore, obviously Baltimore, Maryland, Washington D.C. area, and Central Maryland, SI Restoration at www.si-restoration.com, or you can call me personally on my cell at 410-458-5371. Are IICRC certified and educated on this, and we follow the S500 guidelines on doing your sewage damage. The other option, if you're not in that area, is that you can anywhere in the United States, Australia, Europe, England. So somebody's from England watching this, hi. You can actually go to the IICRC.org website and look for certified contractors who do, and they will have specifically for sewage and water damage. And those folks, I would have the most confidence in. Okay. You will have plenty of other contractors or people who are cleaning people say, oh, I've done this so many times and blah, 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 blah. Unless this contractor has the correct insurance, okay, and you have insurance and the company has insurance specifically for this type of work, I would be leery. Here's the problem. So let's say you go to ABC Cleaning Service. They're your next door neighbor. Great people, great work. I'm sure they are. The problem is that they do not have the correct insurance. I promise you, because they don't want to spend any extra money. So they're not going to pay for things that they don't do on a regular basis. And what happens is that besides one of your family getting sick, if one of their employees or themselves gets sick, I know this is going to sound nuts, but they can sue you. I don't know why. I'm not an attorney, I'm not a legal expert, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional. I have to say that. I can't give you advice, but I can tell you for whatever unknown reason, I forget they can sue you, okay? And you could win. So the problem is that your homeowner's insurance is going to go against them. Okay. If they don't have the insurance, sorry for itching my head, then it goes on your insurance or you personally. So be wary of who you hire. Okay. And if someone says, don't worry, ma'am, I'm fully insured and bonded, that's wonderful. But it could also be complete baloney. So what happens is that you want to ask for a COI. It's a certificate of insurance. And you don't want an old one. You want a brand new one coming from their insurance agency, um, stating that, and having that fresh one from their agency showing the fact they're insured. Now, they can come in for a little bit and do some things, but you want to get that insurance. For them to do that is and if they say that's very difficult, I beg to differ. Um, all they have to do is call their agent, and their agent can pop one out to you by email within an hour. Okay, especially if it's an emergency situation like it is. Okay, so then the question is who's going to pay for it, right? So you may say, well, my next door neighbor had a backup, it affected me, or I had it myself, and um, do I have to pay this myself? Well, before you can have to dole out the money, you have to check with your homeowner's insurance. So your homeowner's insurance is covered for sewer backups. Okay, well, if you don't have one right now, a sewage backup right now, my suggestion is that you contact your agent right now and make sure that you are covered for this because some insurance companies, especially the ones who advertise that you can save money, can leave things out. And one of them would be covering sewer backups. It could also be the fact that if your side, it gets into a technicality, I'm not going to go there, but you want to call your homeowner's insurance and they should cover it. What they're going to want is a plumber to verify or a drain cleaner to verify that there was a blockage or something happened, okay, that was out of your control. That's the most important thing I can tell you. So what happens at that point is if you have a water damage sewage cleanup restoration company who's certified, in most cases, well, I said in all cases, you should never put besides your deductible, you should never give them money up in advance. And you should never have to pay them within a certain amount of days. Your homeowner's insurance will pay them directly or pay you, and then you can pay them. Okay, if they ask for money in advance besides your deductible, what you owed besides your deductible, I would say thank you and keep looking. Now, let's say you're a tenant or you're a you don't own the home or you don't have homeowner or you don't have a homeowner's insurance. Is there another option? Check your municipality. I know, and I'm going to have to excuse me. I'm going to look at this sheet, but it's from the city of Baltimore. They actually have two programs. I don't know if by the time you're reading or watching this video that they're still good, but one is called the Baltimore Basement Backup Reimbursement Program. The other one is the Sewage On-Site Support Cleanup. Now, the Baltimore Basement Backup says they'll clean up to $5,000 in costs. And the sewage on site does not, but they will reimburse you. I believe I read somewhere that the sewage on site program cleanup program is about $2,500, up to 2,500. But I would double check that they're still good if you're in Baltimore and if they're still doing it. Okay. Now there's a but. Your sewage backup has to be related to a weather related situation. So anything where the weather has done this. That's so in other words, if you put something down your toilet, or your kids put something down your toilet and stuff it up or back it up, or Uncle Charlie, whatever, does his thing, they won't cover that. So it has to be weather related. That's important on that end. So I've talked about costs. I've talked about finding a certified restoration company, and I talked about the process of how to clean up a sewage backup. My name again is Jeffrey Cohn. If you're in the Baltimore, Maryland, Washington, D.C., Central Maryland area, you can call me at 410-458-5371. Happy to inform you if you decide you want to do it yourself. You can call me or ask me questions. If you're not in this area, I highly suggest and ask that as much as I would love to talk to you, that you want to go to the www.iicrc.org website and look under a certified contractor, which they then will be able to educate you. 9 out of 10 times tell you the same thing, hopefully. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.